It is I, Kevin the Pug. I'm here today to help you guys and my daddy do the Super Deck Sunday. I am the bestest pug, and today we have a special deck for you guys because it's like the Christmas deck, sort of. Not because it's not actually Christmas cards, but it's the Christmas colors. And I know Christmas was like last week, but there isn't really a New Year's themed deck, and so Daddy decided, you know what, we'll do the Christmas one, and then next week we'll go back to the Yu-Gi-Oh one that we were supposed to do last week, and then that way you guys still get your Yu-Gi-Oh deck for the New Year's deck. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, Daddy, did I do good? Can I have my bacon now? Yes, Skylar, you can have your bacon now. Yay! If you eat it all now, though, you won't have any for the park. Just so you know. How about we just do one more for now, and we'll do the rest later. Watch out, I gotta break it up into pieces. We learned our lesson last week. You need to make sure it's in pieces, because if you have too big a piece, you get sick. I don't want that. There. Make sure my hands are grease-free, using the moist towelette in my pocket. Yes, alright. There we go. So, oh, pardon me. That's kind of a sad. We're here for Super Deck Sunday. If you saw yesterday's rant, you saw a preview of what today's deck is, because I did actually go back home and finish the deck from yesterday's rant. I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna leave it alone and just move on to the Commander Core Creator Challenge deck, which I'm going to start today and just kind of have to plow through as quickly as possible to get it done in time. But my goal was to actually have this one done on Saturday, but anyways, or Friday, sorry. But anyways, my point being, everything that happened yesterday, I kind of got turned off of wanting to build this, and then I went home, and my father pitched a fit, and made it clear that I wouldn't want to hang out with him at all yesterday, so I decided, well, I'm going to work on this deck. And then Snoop and I got into the discussion, so shout out to Snoop. And yeah, after the discussion with Snoop, I decided there was no choice. I had to finish building this deck and present it to you today, so that we can debate the argument of lands value. Because I have gotten a lot of flack in the last 24 hours, let's say, over how many lands should be in a deck. And if you've ever noticed any of my deck builds on the channel, unless I am taking like from a precon directly and building up the precon, more often than not, any of my homebrews have 35 lands or less. I just never run that many lands. I don't want to run that many lands. I would rather have more stuff in here that's fun to play with, and etc, etc. By the way, I do have 2 packs of Destiny that we will open as part of this video as well, because right now there is a poll up on my channel. 4 of you have voted already. Thank you for those who voted. Please go and vote and let me know what you would like to see for New Year's. I'm going to turn down the fan. For New Year's, we're either going to do a pack battle between Guilds of Ravnica and Avatar 3v3, or we are going to do 4 to 6 random packs openings. Either way, I'm trying to save what's left of the Avatar packs until that vote gets finalized, which I'm going to let that vote keep going right up until probably New Year's Eve, when I actually make the stream, or New Year's Day, whichever one I do. And hopefully it will be a live stream that I get to do with you guys. I would really like to be able to do a live stream, but if worse comes to worse and I have to just make a video because my dad's around, so be it. It'll just have to be one of those quiet, whispery videos that you've seen on the channel the last few days. And I think the audio on those is still reasonably okay. So I know it's not quite as hyped and as exciting as it is when I get to do it in the car or when I'm home alone with Kaiba, but yes, you're a good baby. I know, you ate your bacon super quick and you want more. I'll give you more in a little bit, okay? But yeah, so this deck, for example, currently has 32 to 33 lands. I say 32 to 33 lands because I'm still debating whether or not I want to include one card in particular in this deck, because I did point out that I am trying to aim for a bracket 1 with this deck, essentially. My goal was to try and build a really low tier, fun deck with this commander, and the object of the game was to just really enjoy having fun at the table and like having a very chill game where I'm not like trying to compete on a high level. I'm just trying to hang out, have fun, throw out some fun creatures, and whatever happens happens kind of thing. I don't expect to win with this deck by any means a lot of the time. It's more of just a fun chill game deck, sort of like I built the mono blue deck to handle all the power games that I don't want to play. This is for not because I don't want to play these games, but because I just don't have any decks for this level. I'm actually going to build a couple more decks at this level probably. I want to build, I have mentioned that I'm planning to build a bunny deck, and even though I'm planning to use Mrs. Bumbleflower as the commander, I'm planning to build an entirely all rabbits tribal deck that I think I can get to a bracket 1, just based on that, the way it's going to play, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But that is the goal, is to just keep building like a couple more lower tier decks so that I have some fun decks for when I want to just chill out and have fun. And then I have my majority of the decks, which are bracket 2 and 3 for kind of a competitive scene, but not really like crazy. And then I want to have probably one more bracket 4 deck that is just going to be some sick degenerative nonsense that most people won't want to play against, and I'll be like, well, you decided we had to play high power, so this is what you get. You get this, or you get my mono blue solitaire deck. You pick. And my goal is to make it just as disgusting as the mono blue deck, if I possibly can. I might make a mono black deck. I haven't decided for sure to make that degenerative deck. I might make something else. I haven't decided for sure what it's going to be. But I do have a bunch of really disgusting black cards that I've pulled recently. For example, the Soul Stone. And I do have a copy of Reanimate that I haven't put into a deck yet. So there's just like things like that are just kind of laying around where I'm like, I could probably build a really disgusting mono black deck and really kind of just have degenerative fun in high power with it. Anywho, that's not what this deck is though. This deck is a green and red crazy tokens deck, essentially. Wort the Raidmother is 4 and 2 red or 2 green for a 3/3. When she comes into play, you get 2 1/1 red-green Goblin Warrior creature tokens, which I need to find a copy of those tokens still and buy one. And then each red or green instant sorcery or sorcery spell that you play has Conspire, which I've never actually seen any other card with Conspire besides this one, and like if it's not printed directly onto a sorcery, which there's the occasional one that I've seen. But I've never actually seen another creature that had Conspire. So, what Conspire is as you play the spell, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control that share a color with it. If you do, you get to copy that spell and you can choose new targets for the copy. So basically the goal of this deck is to just put out a whole bunch of Goblin tokens and a whole bunch of green Saproling tokens, and then use those tokens to conspire all of my sorcery and instant spells so that I can make many, many more tokens, for example, but also so that I can do some crazy other nonsense with some other spells in here too. It does have some crazy nonsense in here, but it also does have a lot of crazy like cards that nobody would ever run. So I think that makes it really fit into the bracket 1, but Snoop has argued that some of the cards in here make it automatically bracket 2, which I don't feel that's the case, and I'm going to leave that to you guys to argue out in the comments. But here we go. We have Rulik Mon's Warren Chief, 1 and a red and a 2 green for a 3/3 with Menace. Whenever he attacks, you get to look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, it goes onto the battlefield tapped. If it's not a land, you get a 1/1 red Goblin creature token, which is pretty good. Pretty good. I got Borusk Liege. He's 1 and 3 red or green in any combination for a 3/4 with trample, and all your other red creatures get +1/+1, and all your other green creatures get +1/+1. So all your red-green creatures get double. Which there's only actually 5 red-green creatures in here, which is funny, including Boar Tusk. So there's only 4 creatures that are going to get the double, plus the 2 tokens off of Wort. Bogart Ram Gang is 3 red or 3 green in a combination with haste, 3/3, and wither. I love wither. I think that's a disgusting mechanic, but I think it's hilarious. So anytime I see something that has wither and I can fit it into a deck, I'm going to probably try and do so. I also put Olshat. I can never say this one right. Olasht. I'm going with Olasht. The hate seed. 2 red and green for a 0/0, but it comes into play with a whole bunch of +1/+1 counters on it, based on how many red, for every red creature you control and every green creature you control. So if I have a whole bunch of tokens on the field, I'm going to get a whole bunch of +1/+1 counters on this thing. Then I can pay 1, remove a +1/+1 counter from it to either deal 1 damage to a creature, which I'm not going to do, or I can create a Saproling, which I'm going to do probably a lot. Shrewfish Sprout Sire. 2 and a green for a Saproling 1/1 legendary creature, trample. And whenever he deals combat damage to a player, I get to make that many Saproling tokens. So the goal is to buff him up some, and then let him swing out. Verdant Force, 5 and 3 green for a 7/7. It's kind of expensive to get this on the field, but once I do, I get a Saproling at every upkeep. Not just mine, everybody's upkeeps. So that's a lot of Saprolings coming into play. Namada Grove Guardian, 4 and 2 green for a 4/5. Play 2 and a green to get a Saproling. Sacrifice a Saproling, and all my Saproling creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. Verdaloth, the Ancient, 4 and 2 green for a 4/7 with Kicker X. Saproling creatures and other tree folk creatures get +1/+1, so this one doesn't get +1/+1, unfortunately, off its own buff, but it will get +1/+1 off of the Boar Tusk. And then whenever this thing enters, if it was kicked, I make X green Saproling creature tokens. So the goal is to have a whole bunch of mana open when you want to play this guy. Sporebound, 3 and 2 green for a 3/3, and whenever a land comes into play, I get a Saproling, so that's pretty decent. Slimy Piper, 1 and a green for a 2/1. Whenever he attacks, he gets +1/+1, but if I have 4 or more creatures, he actually gets +1 or +2/+2 and gains indestructible. Saurian Symbiote, 3 and a green for a 2/3 with reach. And when this thing enters, you get a +1/+1 counter on it, which I'm not going to do. Or you make a Saproling creature, which I am going to do. Spore Crown Thallid, 1 and a green for a 2/2. And all your other creatures that are fungi or Saprolings get +1/+1. Tuskatung Thallid, it is a fungus. It's a 1/1 for 1. And when it dies, it makes a Saproling. This is an example of the card that I'm saying will never get played in a regular deck. I love Thallid. It is so cute. The artwork is fantastic on it. 1 green for a 1/1. It does absolutely nothing normally, except that it gets a spore counter at your upkeep. And then you can pay 0 to remove 3 spore counters from this thing and create a Saproling. So every 3 turns, essentially, well, not counting the turn it comes in, every 3 turns after the turn it comes in, you can make a Saproling. Nobody's going to run that except me. And that is why, like, this is an example of why I'm thinking, like, this is kind of a bracket 1 sort of like deck. Yeah, it has some interesting stuff, but I mean, a lot of my stuff is like really high cost, so I'm not going to be able to play it for a while. And the low cost stuff is kind of degenerate junk. Jade Mage, 2 and a green to create a Saproling. And it's a 2/1 for 1 and a green. This right here is actually one of the most powerful cards in the deck. Sandstorm Salvager, 2 and a green. When it enters, I get to create a 3/3 golem that's colorless. And it's a 1/1, but I can pay 2, tap this guy, and then I can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature token that I control. And all those tokens get trample until end of turn. So basically, I can give my entire army a +1/+1 counter that is, like my entire token army, +1/+1 counters, and give them trample until end of turn. Now, Snoop did point out to me that giving trample to 1/1s and 2/2s and things like that is kind of silly. But if I have Boar Tusk out and I have the Ancient out, those Saprolings, for example, are now 3/3s, and then they're getting +1/+1 counters, making them 4/4s, and they're swinging with trample. That's not bad. Moving on to the Goblin section now. We have General Crete, the Bolt Bringer. 2 and a red for a 2/2. Whenever one or more goblins you control attack, you make a goblin. That's tapped and attacking. Whenever another creature you control enters, this guy deals 1 damage to each opponent. He's going to deal a whole bunch of damage with all the tap tokens that are coming into play. Squee Dubious Monarch. Haste. Whenever he attacks, you make a red goblin creature token. That's tapped and attacking. And you can task Squee from your graveyard by paying 3 and a red and exiling 4 other cards from your graveyard. Kind of expensive to get him back, but I mean, he could be worth it if you need extra goblins. This is an example of the card that Snoop says automatically makes this a bracket 2. I do not feel that if Krenko is in the 99, he's a bracket 2 automatically. I do have ways to get Krenko out of here per chance, but it is not necessarily the only thing I would be searching for. There were other cards that I was originally going to be looking for. There are fewer of those cards now, but I'm still saying that Krenko in the 99 does not automatically make a deck a bracket 2. Especially because I do not have a lot of ways to protect in this deck, as you're going to see later on. I'm not like running a whole bunch of protection spells, and I'm not running a whole bunch of counter magic. So yeah. Anyways, he taps to make X goblins based on how many goblins you already control. Gutter Snipe is actually something that I'm going to probably search for first before I search for Krenko, to be honest. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you automatically get to deal 2 damage to each opponent. I'm going to be doing that quite a bit in this deck. Skirk Prospector is another one that I'd probably search for before I'd search for Krenko, because I can sacrifice my goblins to get red mana, and that's an unlimited ability. So there's actually a sick combo that I want to do as a finisher in this game that requires this and 2 other cards and a whole bunch of tokens to be on the field already. So yeah, I'm going to explain that combo when I get to the other 2 cards though. So for now, I'll just set that aside. We got Siege Gang Commander, 3 and 2 red for a 2/2. When he enters, I get to make 3 goblins. And I can pay 1 and a red to sacrifice a goblin to deal 2 damage to any target. That's not bad. Goblin Medics, 2 and a red. Enters tapped and deals... whenever he becomes tapped, he deals 1 damage to any target. He's one that I'm going to probably be tapping to do the Conspire effect a bunch more than I'm going to be using to attack. So I'm still going to be dealing damage, but only when I'm copying stuff. Goblin Matron is one of the ways that I can search for a goblin card. When it enters battlefield, you get to search for a goblin, reveal it, put it into your hand. So this is essentially a tutor for goblins specifically. I don't know whether that actually bumps me up to bracket 2 automatically. I don't think it does. I double checked and I didn't see anything saying that this counted as a proper tutor per se. With that said, I could be wrong, and it could be one of the cards that I decide to end up removing if need be. Because like I say, I really don't want this to be bracket 2. I want this to be a bracket 1 deck. I don't think Krenko makes it a bracket 2 deck, but being able to search for Krenko might make it a bracket 2 deck. That said, like I say, I'm going for Gutter Snipe. I'm going for possibly Goblin Medics even beforehand. Like, there's a couple other things that I'm searching for before I'm searching for that. Morg War Marshal. Sorry. 1 in a red for a 1/1 with Echo 1 in a red. So you have to pay his cost at the beginning of your upkeep or you're going to lose him. When he enters and when he dies, you get a goblin. Goblin Rabble Master. This is another one that I'd probably search for before I'd search for Krenko, to be honest. Other goblin creatures that you control attack each combat if able. So unless I've tapped them for Conspire, they're going to have to swing. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token with haste. And whenever this thing attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each other attacking goblin. So this one's going to get big. And if I can give this one trample, that's pretty sick. Battlecry Goblin, 1 in a red. Pay 1 in a red, goblins you control get +1/+0 and haste until end of turn. So that can quickly make my army be able to attack if need be. And whenever he attacks, if I control attacked with power, a total power 6 or greater this combat, I get to make a 1/1 red goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking. Volley Veteran. When it enters, it deals damage equal to damage to target creature and opponent controls equal to the number of goblins you control. This one's just a really fantastic way for clearing something off the board that's a problem. Otherwise, it's really not the best card because of the weak butt. It's going to die really fast. Is it Chemister? I think this one's a fun one to include in here because of all the sorceries and instants. So I can pay a red, tap this guy, exile an instant or sorcery card from my graveyard. Then I can pay 1 and a red, tap this guy, sacrifice him, and cast any number of the cards I exiled with him without paying their mana cost. So I can basically just redo all my instants and sorceries if need be, which is pretty nice. And he's got a decent butt, so he's going to hold up if he gets attacked. Stormkiln Artist, 3 and a red. Yes, this is technically not a goblin. He's a 2/2. He gets +1/+0 for every artifact I control, which I'm not going to have that many artifacts per se in the deck. But the main reason he's in here is because whenever I cast or copy an instance or sorcery spell, I get a treasure token. And so that's going to help supplement the mana base in terms of dealing with the issue of having low mana. And that is part of the reason why I want to potentially keep the card that I'm thinking about keeping in the deck at the end of the deck. We're going to discuss that card though, which one I want to keep in here versus what I'm going to possibly put in if I decide to pull it, depending on whether it is actually on the Game Changers list as a proper tutor or not. Anyways, that one, the one at the back here I didn't get a chance to check on. I only checked on the Goblin Matron originally when I was building the deck a while ago. So I mean, it might have changed since then anyways, but I don't know for sure. Whenever another creature or artifact you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. This is going to be insane for all the treasure tokens. It combos off really well with the Stormkiln, but also it goes really well with all the creature tokens that are coming into play. And finally, Devilish Valet, another one that I kind of just threw in. This is a card that I could easily remove for a land if I needed to, but I don't want to, so I'm not going to. It is a 2 and a red for a 1/3 with trample and haste, but the thing that I love about this guy is whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, double this guy's power until end of turn. So, if I get this guy in early and then I make a whole bunch of tokens, this guy's power could go off the charts and I can swing with him one time and just annihilate somebody with the trample. Either annihilate their entire board because they have to throw so much in front of me to block, or annihilate them outright because his power goes off the charts, like I say. And you're gonna see, like, there's some spells in here that if I double them, I could have up to like 6 tokens coming in at one time, which is fantastic. Anywho, moving on to the artifacts. We've got Glittering Stockpile. Taps for red, put a stash counter on it. Tap it, sacrifice it, add X mana of any one color where X is the number of stash counters on this thing. So this thing, the object is to try and keep this thing on the field for a while. And then when I sacrifice it, I get a whole bunch of mana to play with at one time for something big. And there's a few something bigs in here at the end that you're going to see. I have some closer spells for this deck that I would really love to use this for example. I got an Arcane Signet also just to do some mana rock stuff. And then there was one more artifact. Where did it go? Oh, it got behind one of the enchantments. And then this is another one of those cards that is just not going to see a lot of gameplay. Have I been off screen for a lot of this? I apologize. I hope not. This is another one of those things that just isn't going to see play in a lot of decks, but I wanted to put it in because I've had it for a while. It actually inspired this deck to a certain extent. And I can't remember when I pulled this. I pulled it in a Dollarama pack, I'm sure. It's been a long time since I did, but I thought it was a really funny card when I pulled it, and I love this thing. So when it comes into play, I either pick Citizen, Camarade, Thrall, Goblin, or Saproling. I'm probably going to pick Saproling to be honest, because I've got a whole bunch of ways to make more Goblins than I do Saprolings. Pay 3, tap, put a 1/1 token of the chosen color and type into play. So this will just give me an extra token in return, assuming I have the extra mana to pay for it. Now we're getting into the enchantments. I'm not going to lie, the enchantment base on this deck is actually kind of sick. Like, degenerate sick. So first off, we start with Gruul Warchant. 2, a red, and a green. Each attacking creature you control gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. So basically it gives them +1/+0 and menace until end of turn when they attack. So my entire board is going to be a lot harder to block when this is out. And although I do have a whole bunch of stuff giving buffs, if I don't have any of that stuff on the field by chance, when I swing with my tokens, I can have Raid Bombardment go off. And all those tokens will deal an extra 1 damage to the player that I'm swinging at automatically. So this is just a fantastic way to deal a whole shite ton of damage to somebody when I swing at them with a whole bunch of 1/1s If I don't say have, like, even if Gruul War Chant's out, that's fine. But if I don't have, like, if I have Gruul War Chant and Bogart out, for example, that's not going to be able to trigger Raid Bombardment. So I do have, this is kind of like a contingency plan. If I don't have any of the buffs going, I at least have a reason to swing with all my creature tokens still. Especially given that the Rabble Master makes me swing with all the goblins. At least then I'm dealing a whole bunch of damage with them, per se. I have a makeshift munitions in here just because it gives me another sack outlet, essentially. There's a reason why I want a bunch of sack outlets in this deck. But basically, pay 1, sack an artifact or creature. This thing deals 1 damage to any target. I'm going to be choosing the players probably when I do that. I'm going to be sacrificing more of my like goblins and saprolings than anything else. And the reason why I want to sacrifice so many goblins in particular, not necessarily the saprolings, but the goblins in particular, is because of this card. Bogart Shenanigans. 2 in a red. Whenever another goblin you control is put into a graveyard from play, you may have Bogart Shenanigans deal 1 damage to target player. So every time I sacrifice a goblin, I am dealing 1 damage to somebody, and potentially 2 damage with the makeshift munitions. Or there's a couple other things in here that did some stuff with sacrificing. Like, it's a really fun idea. And it's a tribal enchantment for goblins, and I thought it fit really well. Next up, another degenerate card, Cinder Vines. 1 green, 1 red to put this into play. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, that player gets 1 damage. And I can pay 1 and sacrifice this at any time to destroy an artifact or enchantment, and then this thing will deal 2 damage to that person, the person who controlled that card. So, a very disgusting little enchantment, and it goes really well with the theme of I'm just going to ping you to death with a whole bunch of 1/1 creatures. So I think that's really on point with this deck. Again, I feel this is very bracket 1-ish to me. This feels like something I would have played based on the argument that I made yesterday. This is something that I would have played in power level 5 or power level 4 even, potentially. I would not have felt like this would have done well in a power level 6. It definitely would have got destroyed in a power level 7. Another card that's kind of disgusting to put in here, but it works really well, is Gratuitous Violence. If a creature you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. So all of my tokens in here that are dealing 1 little damage are actually dealing 2 damage. And if they get buffed up a bunch, they're going to deal that much more damage. But this, again, is just very much a battle cruiser kind of style deck. I'm not going to win very often with any of the bigger cards at the end of this deck. If I do win with one of the big win cons, it's going to be kind of like a crazy pull-off, per se. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to... Bogart Shenanigans is part of the combo with the Skirk Prospector. And then we've got Fungal Plots to make us some Saprolings, just by exiling creatures from my graveyard, which I don't have a lot of ways to get my creatures back, per se. I have a couple ways to shuffle my deck, but I don't have a couple ways to get creatures back from the graveyard. So if I need an extra Saproling or 2, there's plenty of goblins in here that I could exile and get those. But what I really like about this card is I can sacrifice 2 Saprolings to gain 2 life and draw a card, which is insanely good value. Second Harvest is one of the big spells in this deck. I can make a token copy. For every token that I control, I can make a copy of that permanent. So I can make copies of all my treasures, I can make copies of all my goblins, all my saprolings, and there's a couple other types of tokens that this deck makes as well. But what's really big is if I can combo that off with Wort, then I'm actually making quadruple the tokens, because I'm doubling and then doubling. So if I had like 5 goblins, I'm going to end up with 20 goblins, which is insane. But again, it's just kind of the thing that my deck is trying to do. Goblin War Party is an example of one of those cards. It's just going to put out a whole bunch of goblins. Goblin Negotiation does a ridiculous amount of damage, but I'm going to try and pick like the smallest creature so I can get the maximum amount of goblins. And then, of course, I'm going to try and conspire that so I can get double those amount of goblins. Empty the Warrens has Storm. Again, conspire it. I can storm it twice. Dragon Fodder for 2 goblins. Kranko's Command for 2 goblins. Goblin Surprise for 2 goblins. Saproling Migration has Kicker 4 to make me 4 tokens instead of 2. But I get 2 Saprolings if I can't afford that. Spore Swarm gives me 3 Saprolings. This one gives me 3 Saprolings as well, and it has Convoke, so I can get it in cheaper. This is one of the closer spells in the deck, Fireball. If I can Conspire it, then I can actually take out a couple players. And this is one of those ones that's going to go great with the combo over here. So I have this spell, and then, one second, I'm going to find the other one. Volcanic Geyser. Was there a third? That one. Yeah, that one actually I don't need it for. So there's 2 closing spells that I really wanted to do with this as a combo. So I sacrifice all my goblins, get a whole bunch of red. I deal a whole bunch of damage. Then I play Fireball, and I Conspire it with with the 2 goblins that I don't sacrifice. I could also play Volcanic Geyser, which deals X damage to any target. Again, Conspire it. I can deal the X damage to 2 targets. So, what I like about Fireball, though, is I can pay an extra 1 for extra players. So I can Conspire this, but I could also pay 1 and then target 2 players and then Conspire it to deal that damage twice. So I can actually wipe out the entire table. And like I say, with Bogart Shenanigans and Skirk Prospector, that is just one really disgusting combo to pull off if I can do it. And that is actually kind of the win con aside from the Battle Cruiser function of this deck. Yes, Kappa, I'm almost done. I know. You want to get going. I'm sorry. Dogpile destroys another player really easily by sending my entire army to attack one person. I play Dogpile, and then I deal a whole bunch of damage to another player. Overrun is the other closer spell in this deck. If I can Conspire it, I'm giving my entire army +6/+6 in Trample, which is phenomenal. Invoke the Ancients is another one I want to Conspire. I get 2 tokens, but instead I'm going to get 4 of them. They're 4/5 green spirit creature tokens, and they come into play with either a Vigilance counter, a Reach counter, or a Trample counter. Probably going to go with 2 Reach and 2 Vigilance. And then I have some insane blockers and attackers. Caravan Vigil. Search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. But if I sacrifice the creature that turn, I get to put the land on the battlefield. Again, if I can Conspire it, I'm getting 2 lands. Dance of the Tumbleweeds, I'm getting 2 lands, potentially. And I'm getting 2 elemental creature tokens, potentially. Many Partings, 2 lands, potentially, 2 food tokens. I like this card, Struggle and Survive. So Struggle deals damage to 1 creature equal to the number of lands I control, and I can Conspire that to do 2 targets. And then when this is in my graveyard, I can play Survive, and everybody shuffles their graveyards back into their library, and then this gets exiled, which is pretty nice. I got Walk with the Ancestors to try and get back some of my enchantments in case they get destroyed, or to get back the occasional creature if I really want to. Cosmotronic Wave is another way to close out the game for me. I deal 1 damage to each creature an opponent controls, and then those opponents can't block this turn, so my entire army can just swing for free. Weapon Surge is another way to give my army a solid 1-up by overloading it and giving them all first strike. Strength of the Pack, if I can Conspire it, I'm giving +4 +1/+1 counters, to all my creatures. Fade from History is a card that really made Snoop cringe when I showed it to him last night. Wipes out everybody's enchantments and everybody's artifacts, and then anybody who had one of those things gets 1 bear. I threw in Hickory Woodlot. Actually, you know what? Hickory Woodlot's the one that I'm going to potentially not throw in. I'm going to throw in Uncharted Territory, Unclaimed Territory instead. Unclaimed Territory is going in, and so is Path of Ancestry. Path of Ancestry goes really well with the commander, and then all my goblins will get me to scry 1, which is phenomenal. And Unclaimed Territory, I'm going to probably pick Saproling or Fungi or something like that, and then all my Fungi will be cheaper to get into play. Game Trail gives me a mountain or forest, or lets me tap for green or red. Comes into play untapped if I control a mountain or forest. This one gives me a life, comes into play tapped though. That one, I pay 1, and then I get 1 red and 1 green. Pretty nice. Cinder Glade comes in tapped unless I control 2 or more basics, but I can actually search for this one. I'm not going to, but I could. I don't have any searchable things in here for lands per se, really, to be honest. Mountains. Forests. I like the artwork on that forest. And I like the artwork on that mountain. I like the artwork on the the ones from the unset too. So this is the final card. My debate is whether or not to include Primal Command. If I include Primal Command, it is kind of disgusting with my commander. In terms of if I conspire it, I'm going to get 14 life, and I could search for up to 2 creatures, potentially. Or I could put 2 non-creature permanents on top of their owner's library. Or I can make 2 people shuffle their libraries into their graveyard. I really probably want to do the whole 14 life and shuffle the library thing, but the tutoring ability is the reason why I'm not sure if I'm going to include this in the deck, because that might put the deck over the edge too far. If I don't put it in, I'm going to include this Hickory Woodlot, which is a neat little land because it comes into play tapped, but every time it comes in with 2 counters on it, and when you tap it, you have to remove a counter, and then you get 2 green instead of 1. Unfortunately, once all the counters are gone, you have to destroy it. But with the card that shuffles my stuff back into my deck, at least one of them existing for sure in this deck, I'm going to keep this one in here for sure. So at least this will give me back the land, and then I can get that land back and do it again one time, per se. And I mean, the other thing too is just, yeah. Anyways, that is the deck. I really enjoy that deck. Kaiba really wants me to get going to the park. I can hear him being upset with sitting in the car too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open these later at the house, and I'm going to add this into the video afterwards. All right. See you guys in a little while. Bye. Alrighty. Park trip is over. There is a beautiful park video coming for you guys. I'm not sure whether it'll be before or after Super Deck Sunday. I was thinking about even compiling them all together into one video, so it might be that you've actually just witnessed Kaiba walking around for about 20 minutes, and now you're going to witness me crack these 2 packs of cards. I haven't decided yet which way I'm going to go with that, for sure. Oh, this earbud is killing my ear, though. So I'm taking it out, and hoping that it does not disrupt this video. It didn't the other day, so I don't think it will today. Good. Other than it might screw with the microphone a little bit. I'm not sure how that works actually when I take out the earphones partway through a video. Let me know if that altered the sound at all around minute 40 seconds in. Anyways, we're going to rip these packs. We're going to rip them with Kaiba over here. Say hi, Kaiba. Good boy. Do you want to do the ripping? Will you do the ripping? Only if there was more bacon? No, we ate all the bacon. I don't have anything else for you for that. I can give you some livers at home. Not good enough? Okay, I'll do the ripping. I will rip these 2 packs with you guys and then get you guys out of here. I know that Super Deck Sunday was a bit of a longer one because I was trying to reference yesterday's video a bunch as well. If you didn't see yesterday's video, make sure you go tune into that because I had an interesting little rant. And I am curious how people feel about it, actually. From my discussion with Snoop, it was interesting because Snoop actually never played back when the power level system existed, so he doesn't really know quite what I'm referencing as a point of view. So for him, Power 2 is basically precons, and precons back when we had power levels was basically 5, power level 5, power level 6 kind of area. So to build a deck that's weaker than a precon seems very odd to Snoop. At least that's the impression I got, and I apologize if I'm misrepresenting you, Snoop, but that's the impression I got from our discussion. I'm going to just zoom this in actually to 1 so you guys can get right up close with the cards. But essentially my point that I was making in the video was that true casual games where you just kind of sit around, shoot the shit for like 3 hours, hang out, everybody does their thing, nobody really goes for the win until like turn 10, etc, etc. Like those are the games that I really used to love playing back when I actually played a whole bunch more Commander than I do now. When I first got into this channel and I first started playing Magic, I remember playing like 3 to 5 games of Commander a day online, and that definitely was not healthy. and now I've kind of gone to the exact reverse where I haven't actually played a month, or I haven't played a game for like 3 months. So I've got to try and find a happy medium in the new year. I'm going to try and set a goal for myself to play at least 3 Commander games a week, whether it be in the store or online. I got to find some games and I got to start getting back into it. But yeah, my point of the video that I made yesterday, like I say, is that bracket power level 3 to 5 just kind of got killed when the bracket system came in, because in theory those decks should all go towards bracket 1, but bracket 1 is apparently something that nobody builds for. Anywho, let's see what we got for these 2 packs as we get out of here. We have blue and cleave 1 in a blue. Return target non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. So if you get rid of if you pay the cleave cost, you can get rid of the you control part, and then you can pick anybody's stuff. But if you only want to get something that is on your board, you can just pay 1 blue and you're good. Which is kind of cool. Team Pennant. 1 for equip creature gets +1/+1, has vigilance and trample. Damn. Equip to a creature token 1, equip 3. You know what? I almost might want to put that into the deck that I just showed you guys this morning. Maybe instead of putting in the extra land or that tutor, I'm just going to put this thing in. This thing's pretty sick. Plus, that's a great way to boost some of my tokens to give them extra power, and yeah, I like that a lot. That is definitely a hit. Sailor of Means. When Sailor of Means enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Decent. It's a pirate, which goes well in the pirate deck I want to build eventually, so good. There's our first not good card. Vol'daren Duelist, I can almost just throw that in the garbage at this point, but I don't really like trash cards, so eventually I have this like box that I'm going to build full of random stuff that I'm not going to actually play, and I'm just going to give that to like the store, or I'll donate it to a school or something. Shard of Broken Glass. 1 for equipped creature gets +1/+0, and whenever the equipped creature attacks, you may put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. It is a May ability, but that is an interesting choice. I will definitely say that's a lot better than the Vol'daren Duelist. Everything's going to be better than that, though, probably. Especially this Heartfire Emulator. That is an awesome card. 1 in a red for a 2/2 with prowess. Pay 1 red, sacrifice this thing. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker. That is sick. We are pulling some solid stuff in this first pack. Lost in the Woods. 3 and 2 green. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a forest card, remove that creature from combat. Then put the revealed card on the bottom of your library. I'm not sure whether I like that or not. It's definitely a mono green deck kind of card. I'm not sure what deck I'm going to put that into, though, but it's a neat card for sure. Shipwreck Moray. 3 and a blue for a 0/5. When it enters, you get 4 energy. If you pay 1 energy, this thing gets +2/-2 until end of turn. Well, that's kind of lame. I like the 4 energy that you get. I don't really want to boost it and decrease its defense, though. Glade Cover Scout. That's okay, but we've pulled enough of those that it's not really something I'm super looking forward to pulling anymore. This is a new one, I think. Fury Blade Vampire. 1 in a red for a 1/2 trample. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may discard a card. If you do, this thing gets +3/+0 until end of turn. Yep, I definitely haven't pulled that before, and that is kind of neat. So it becomes a 4/2 instead of being a 1/2 with trample. I like you. You're interesting. I'm not sure what deck I'm going to put you in, but you're definitely not like top, but you're good stuff. I still think the Team Pennant might be my favorite pull today so far, though. But the Heartfire Emulator and the Lost in the Woods are definitely some solid stuff, too. Gift of Strength. Target creature gains +3/+3 and reach until end of turn. Doesn't untap it, though, so you have to make sure the creature's already untapped when you play that. Still a decent card, though. I'll put it over the Shard of Glass. Bone Picker. 3 and a black for a bird, but it costs 3 less to cast if a creature died this turn, and this thing is flying, death touch, and is a 3/2. That's pretty sick. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Wicker Witch. 3 for a 3/1 with nothing. So it goes to the bottom. Anchor to the Ether. 2 and a blue. Put target creature on top of its owner's library and then scry 1. I mean, if it's your creature and you don't want it to be there anymore, I suppose you can scry it to the bottom and then draw something else later. But I don't think that's the best card either, necessarily. That's going to probably be somewhere in the middle of the pack. And this one ends on a swarm color. 3 and a black for a 2/4 flying, and when it becomes tapped, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact if you do draw a card. Interesting. That can also go somewhere in the middle. I'm definitely saying so far my favorite pulls are these 3. I do like the Bone Picker, though, and the Vampire. Those are nice, but these 3 are definitely the pulls so far. Top 5 for sure. Let's see if the second pack is as good as the first pack was. That was some fire. I could definitely see putting that banner thing into my new deck that I just built. That would be really kind of a neat way to boost the power of some of the tokens, and yeah, good stuff. This one, Shoreline Ranger, kicks us off. A 5 and a blue for a 3/4 bird soldier with flying and island cycling too. Probably not going to see much gameplay for me. The island cycling's neat, but otherwise not so much. Ooh, we have a holo I accidentally revealed there a little bit. Necrogen Sensor, 3. Enters the battlefield with 2 charge counters on it. Tap it to remove a charge counter, and then target player loses 2 life. If you can proliferate this isn't a bad artifact. I would keep that in a deck that does a lot of proliferating stuff. Thorn of the Black Rose, Death Touch, 1/3, and when she enters, you get to become the Monarch. I do like that card a lot, actually, so solid start here, guys, again. Goblin Shortcutter, enters the battlefield, target creature can't block this turn. It's not bad. I think I already had a copy of that, but even if I didn't, it's not going to go in the Goblin deck that I just built by any means. 3 and a red, Bring Low, deals 3 damage to target creature. If that creature has a +1/+1 counter, it actually gets 5 damage instead. That's pretty solid. Ooh, we got an unset card for the holo. Interesting. I will definitely add that to my box, and it's definitely one that I don't think I've pulled before. Treacherous Trapezist, 1 and 2 blue, flying. Whenever you cast an alliterative spell, scry 2. Anything with 2 or more capitalized words in its name that begin with the same letter is alliterative. Okay, so when you cast this and whenever you cast other things, you would get this. Other alliterative creatures you control have flying. Interesting. I like this. I like that a lot, actually. Inexorable Blob. 2 and a green for a 3/3 ooze, and whenever this thing attacks, if there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard, put a 3/3 green ooze creature token onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Interesting. Very interesting. Ooh, we got a legendary, but it is a Spider-Man card, so ooh, but also aw. I think I already had a copy of her, but she's not a bad one. She has flying on your turn. She's a 2/2 for 2 mana, which isn't bad. And when she leaves the battlefield, you do get a citizen. So, I mean, all around, she pays off pretty decently. Glassblower's Puzzle Knot, 2. When this thing enters the battlefield, scry 2, then get 2 energy. Pay 2 and a blue, sacrifice this thing, scry 2 and get 2 energy. Yeah, okay. It's not terrible. I'll play that probably in an energy deck. Maybe. Woodlot Crawler, blue and black, for 2/1 with Force Walk and protection from green. That's pretty disgusting. I like it. Make that one indestructible and swing at all the green players with it. A Crone Sergeant. 2 and a red for a 2/2 with first strike and renown 1. When this creature deals damage to a player, if it isn't renowned, put a +1/+1 counter on it and it becomes renowned. Interesting. So it's going to become a 3/3 after it hits the person. And then it still has the first strike, which is nice. That's not a bad card. That is not bad. This pack definitely did not beat the first pack by any means, but it's still an interesting pack. I definitely like the holo. I think the holo made my day, actually, a little bit. I'm going to keep that face up at the top, actually. That thing is really cute. That porcupine is really, really cute. Cathartic Reunion. 1 red, 1 and red. As an initial cost, you have to discard 2 cards to draw 3. Yeah. Courier Hawk. Flying and Vigilance for a 1/2 with 1 and white. That I probably will actually slip into my bird deck. I might pull something else out for it because that's pretty solid stats. Bloom Hulk, 3 and a green for 4/4 plant elemental, and when it enters the battlefield, you get to proliferate. Solid. That I like. I actually like that better than the Blob and the Puzzle Knot. This is probably one of the better ones in this pack. And we end on a Dreadscape Zombie, which is an older one for sure. I had a copy of this back in the day. 2/1 for 1 and a black, and it does have Unearth 1 black, so I mean, it comes back easy enough from the graveyard when you want it to. You just have to remove it from the play. Remove it from the game at the end of turn, or if it would leave play because of the Unearth thing, which is kind of lame. First pack was definitely way more fire than the second pack, but second pack had some decent cards in it too. I'm not gonna say it didn't. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of Super Deck Sunday. Sunday. Yes, Kaiba says enough is enough. Let's go home. Much love to you all from Kaiba and myself to you. Take care. Have yourselves a wonderful remainder of your weekend. And remember, please, to go vote in the poll and let me know what you want to see for the New Year's Eve / New Year's Day celebration. Okay? Thank you. Bye.